Property and Inheritance Rights Among Young Widows and Orphans in Kayole, Nairobi, Kenya. Welcome to Young Widows Advancement Program, a group advancing the cause of young widows and orphans. Young Widows Advancement Program is a self-help community-based organization started by 5 young widows whose spouses had died due to HIV/AIDS. Esther, the program's coordinator, says,
all the 5 women had been chased away from their matrimonial homes and they had tested HIV positive. Because of the stigma attached to HIV, they met quietly to support each other through sharing of experience and organizing a merry-go-round. These people had been chased away from their matrimonial homes and they had lost most of their property. They needed to refurnish their homes, so the merry-go-round was going to help them to refurnish their homes. But through sharing of experience, they drew strength from each other. By the year 2003, it was registered by the Kenyan government as a self-help community-based organization, supporting the interest of young widows, especially those who have lost their homes and who have lost their properties.
A major focus of the 5 programmatic activities of Young Widows Advancement Program is to strengthen young widows' property and inheritance rights as a means of mitigating HIV/AIDS impact. The group conducts advocacy to raise awareness of the issue through public forums, informational materials, and media. They provide paralegal services through community-based volunteers and a lawyer who works pro bono to help young widows reclaim their property and inheritance rights. Run a rescue center where widows and their children can sleep and eat after losing their matrimonial homes and they lack a place to stay.
Most of the time when our members lose their homes, they have nowhere to go. You might find they run to Koinange, but this is not dignified given that these were women who are decently married. So when they lose their homes, they come to the rescue center with their children.
The group organizes and supports psychosocial support groups for widows and trains widows in preparing memory books and wills. Nana, the project officer, says,
the paralegal program is about empowering the young widows as far as the law is concerned. Okay. What we've observed is that the law is complex, even for an educated woman or an educated person. So just try to imagine how the situation is for a young widow who maybe she reached class 8 or class 4 and she never got to, her career was shattered with the death of her husband. So when we talk about the paralegal program, we give the members knowledge on the law. Let's say, for example, basic facts on the law. Like, for instance, how do you write a will? What are the components of a will? What some of the legal terms, like interstate, what does it mean? Testate. For instance, when your husband passes away, like today, and let's say you started on following up on your property, administration of the property, then you're going to be asked, the lawyer asked you, did your husband die interstate or testate? For a widow, maybe she doesn't know what those means. So when we talk about empowering them as far as the legal aspects are concerned, that is what we do. We also train them still on the paralegal. We also train them on how to be paralegals in the community. A paralegal is a person who is empowered, who has knowledge on the basic knowledge on the law. So what they do is they act as arbitrators in simple disputes in the community. They also act as they link up the widows with the social services, and even in issues like, let's say, taking a case to the court and all that. Then the memory book project, and this is a sample. Like what I had here is a sample of a memory book. What happens in the memory book, like you can see here, it belongs to one of our members. It entails writing a story about your family, fond memories, giving fond memories to your children. That because widows here in this case are doubling as the father and the mother to her children. So when you talk about a memory book, is that in the event that the mother is not there, the children have a legacy, the children have direction.
Property and inheritance rights. Why? When death occurs in the family, young widows and children must witness suffering, and the society presents itself at worst. The death of the husband spells doom for the widow, for it threatens her psychological and physical well-being. She faces cruel in-laws who grab all her property, yet she is the one to fend for herself and her children. Most often, she is blamed for the deaths in the family and punished by being chased away from her matrimonial home and all her property grabbed from her by in-laws. Lilian Wanjiru shares her experience.
I'm also a widow, and my properties were taken away. In fact, in my house, the one my husband left me with. After 1 month, I came back to Nairobi. When I went home again, I found my house was already occupied by my brother-in-law. So I talked about it with young widows, and they helped me.
Mary explains young widows' paralegal activities.
I have a salon in Roy, and in the salon we have women coming whom I make their hair, and when we are talking, I happen to meet widows who come and I make their hairs, and when they introduce themselves and say that they are widows, I teach them how to look after what has been left behind by their husband, that they are not supposed to be harassed by the in-laws, that they are not supposed to be inherited by force by the in-laws, that they are not supposed to be abused by the in-laws or anything bad done to them by the widows. Majority of them, they don't know the rights of widows, so they tend to flow according to the way they are pushed. But when they come to me, because I have learned how the rights of widows are as a paralegal, I teach them how to move with the rights of the widows. There are some of the problems which come to me, and I feel that now I have to bring them here to young widows, because when they come and say they want to spend the night with me, now there I tell them I have to bring them now to the young widows. There are other problems, like they might be needing a lawyer who will stand with them, who will take a case, maybe their properties which have been taken away from them. That is the time that I bring them now to the young widows. I have been helping them realize their rights as a wife or a widow in their homes. And in the learning where we were learning as paralegals, we were told that if a man lives with you for 1 year when you have a child, he qualifies to be called your husband. And when I asked them how long they have been living with this man, here maybe 5-10 years, so I said that they are qualified to be wives where they have the right to be with the property that the husband has left. You might be asked of a document and you might not have, because here in Kenya, somebody loves a lady, and come we stay system is the majority of the marriages we have in Kenya. So you look at the IDs, maybe a wife have not changed the name, but we have children who hold the name of the father. So having the children, having the cards or birth certificate, it's a qualification to know that you are the wife of the man.
Bereavement counselling assists the young widows and orphans to cope with grief after losing property and loved ones.
Mimi nimemsaidia sana hiyo upande wa bereavement counseling, na hata wakati hiyo sana nilikuwa sina pahali pa kukaa wakati nilifungia nyumba, nilikuwa na watoto, na vile nilikuja hapa nilisaidika juu nilikuwa sasa nimesikia tu kama okay I'm nobody, sababu sasa niko na mtoto, hakuna mtu ananiangalia. It's the end of the life, that is. Alafu vile nilikuja na nikakaa hapa kupata chakula, kusikia watoto wako sawa, yeye walisaidia hapo sana.
Okay.
Hii ya widows imenisaidia sana kutoka bereavement counseling. Sikujua mambo mengi, na vile niliingia hapa nilijua na walinifundisha. Aliniwacha nikiwa 20 years.
20 years? No?
97.
97? Okay.
To my husband passed away in 1999.
Okay.
I was by then, I was 27 years.
27.
These problems are specifically tragic for young widows, for it occurs when they are not yet well grounded in their matrimonial homes. This means that they have no claim over traditional forms of wealth like land, domestic animals, or any wealth their husbands might have accumulated or inherited. Impoverished, rejected, and unprotected, they return to the urban areas to seek solace in prostitution and minor trade. Karina and Nancy share the experience.
Okay.
Vile nilikuja hapa walinisaidia na bereavement counselling na mafundisho mingi sana.
Okay.
Nilikuwa nimefungiwa nyumba. Wakati my husband alipasa alileta na watoto wawili. Alafu vile sasa tulileta walifanya tukafungana wakanifukuza nyumbani na nikakuja huko. Sasa vile nilikuja kusiku nilikuwa na pale pa kukaa na nikafika wakati nikafungiwa nyumba sababu siku na wote.
Namba 2 nani?
The group comes together every month to share in a meal as they share experiences through group therapy.
Each one of you some IC materials. As you go out there, you sensitize other people about the services for sasa. So that even other widows who go in there wanaweza kuwa strong as you are. Ndio? Yes. All right. Alafu, we've not finished with the sisterhood thing. Na compile to sign 2 minutes time tujue nani stays where, and you get to know each other, you get to know each other's contacts. Sasa itakuwa ni jukumu lako ujue kwenye the other person anaishi ule mko naye pamoja. Sawa.
The program also engages its members in income generating activities.